Rush Limbaugh, icon of the right, has passed the torch. CPAC, well, it's erupting, and we continue our fight in the trenches for your liberty. Get your AR and your fatigues ready. It's Freedom RoundUp. I'm Shaun Horner, Executive Director of the Heartland Fund Incorporated. Joining me are my usual motley crew. To my direct right is the wonderful, talented, and remarkably beautiful Michelle Horner, Associate Director of the Heartland Fund Incorporated and President of the High Noon Republican Women's Group, followed very closely by Representative of the 32nd District, Jeff Coleman. Also joining us is Dakota Worrell, Vice President of the Kansas City Young Republicans. And last but not least, Campaign Director for the Jeff Coleman campaign and Treasurer for the Jackson County, Missouri GOP. It's Kress Cambers. Welcome, everyone.
Hey!
There it is.
Hey, Chris.
There it is.
Hey, Shaun.
Hey,
Hey, Dakota.
Hi, Jeff.
So
Michelle.
And that's why they love tuning into our podcast.
Because we pay so much
Because
attention.
we pay so little attention. Oh, it's been a long week. It's been a difficult week. Some of us even more than others because some of us have now turned 50.
Happy birthday, Shaun.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you.
Well,
Happy
two other people have
birthday.
turned
Two other people
have turned birthdays
Happy
last week that
birthday
had rough weeks. So just like, you know.
Well, everybody, happy belated birthday to
Happy
Michelle,
birthday to you.
and happy belated birthday to
Miss
Representative Jeff
Nicole
Coleman.
Hey, thank you.
You have to, you know.
I was getting there. I was getting there. I was the keel of the ship.
Somebody
You're not the
actually
keel of any
remembered me.
ship.
Now, I do have to say he does a damn good job of keeping this podcast moving.
I try. It's like blind mice, you know. Sometimes.
We see how we run.
It's the whole three blind mice. Hickory dickory dock. The mouse ran up the clock struck one, and the rest escaped with minor injuries. All right, so next.
Oh, my gosh.
that's a completely different nursery rhyme.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what they are anymore. All right, so we're going to open up with a little bit of pertinent topic. As anyone who's been watching any sort of news has come across, we've had some problems with the power grid. Weird. No problem at all for, I don't know, how many years? 4. And then suddenly we've got problems with the power grid. Specifically the wind power.
And the solar.
And the solar.
In the Republic of Texas.
In the Republic of Texas. We're going to bring that home a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about the what's going on in the Missouri House when it comes to blocking eminent domain for the grain belt. The grain belt is an initiative for basically all of this renewable energy, solar and wind, that's being created, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Generated.
Yeah.
Here in the Midwest is they want to sell it out east because they can get more for it. Representative Coleman, I don't know if anything's come to the floor yet, or you guys had any discussions about this piece?
Yeah, that bill
Yeah.
actually passed the floor this week
Okay.
and is heading to the Senate. Unfortunately, I don't believe the Senate's going to take it up, and if they do, it's not going to turn out well. Politics. Mm-hmm. So, I voted for the Greenbelt bill against eminent
domain.
Ooh.
It's a hard.
It is a hard
hard
word.
word.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Eminent domain. I got it. So yeah, I did vote for that. I voted for it last year. I voted for it again this year because I don't believe that government nor private industry should have the ability to come in and take my property or your property. So there may be a few cases where it's necessary for government, but very minor cases that would ever happen.
Right. And that was my biggest concern because it just seemed like an unnecessary kind of power grab. No pun intended. It just seemed like it was like because it really is generating a lot of a lot of energy. Because I know for instance where we live, that's helping pay for the school, and it's doing a remarkable job for a small community. Because our town that we live in, well, we don't live in town, we live outside town, but the town proper only has 1,000 people, and to be able to build a new anything, is remarkably impossible. So it's nice to have that kind of revenue. But do you think, Jeff, that there's any hope that the Senate will come to any sort of agreement on even their own version of the bill? Or because I know the House bill was kind of aggressive when they said they had to put a substation, like, what was it, every 50 miles or something like that?
Yeah, I don't see it coming out of the Senate. There's politically last year, there were some things that got slipped into a bill. It was a Christmas tree. They sent it over to the Senate. That would be the House. And when they sent it to the Senate didn't catch that it was in there.
Oh.
And when they voted it, they did vote for it. But then somebody caught it, and when they caught it, there was a big to-do between the Senate and the House because they felt like they were trying to slide something in.
Trying to sneak it in without them seeing it? No, that's too bad.
So
You mean like the House Representatives is trying to do to the Senate right now?
On the federal level?
On the federal level?
right. Yes.
With a little bit of pork. Well,
A little bit of pork.
and that's why I wanted to get your input, because it seemed to me that it seemed kind of an easy win, but I was concerned like you. I was concerned about the Senate piece, because that they seem the senators that I know seem to be a little bit more friendly to the utility lobby, and that was my concern.
No comment.
No, so I'll pick it up from here.
That you're right.
I was actually doing some research earlier today, and it seemed like more of the coal and oil industry is very friendly to Republican, lobbyist-wise. Very
Right.
friendly to Republican.
And you'd expect that for the most part.
And so donation-wise, I was looking, which I guess is not really a surprise to me, but it was about an 80-20 split on the solar and wind, those lobbyists donating to Republicans. 20% to Republicans, 80% to Democrats. Which, like you said, I guess it's not really surprising.
Well, I will tell you that the utility companies are very friendly to the Senate.
Are they?
Okay, that's that.
Yeah, well, because we were wondering, because there's this one bill that about charging solar.
That's what I was getting to. HB 539 by Jeff Knight
It's about
would require customers using solar panels to pay a fee for those selling generated power back to the power company.
which I worked for a power company, and I know how this works, because you actually get a credit to your bill because you're supplying things. So why are you charging them for something that you shouldn't, that you have? I don't know. I guess it seems like it's a power grab by the energy companies, because energy companies are losing money because they aren't getting the money that they should be getting, because if they didn't have their own power source. But yet here we are saying, okay, we're going to charge you because you're giving us money. The power company's like, you still have to pay us for you giving us money.
Yeah, what, I haven't seen that bill, so I don't know how to comment on that. I don't know. I haven't studied it, so
Yeah.
I don't know what the issues are on both sides.
Yeah. The thing that bothered me about, and these kind of came at the same time, is you've got on the one hand, we're telling the power companies, you can't just take land that you need to build the high voltage power lines across various states all the way to the East Coast power grid. And then on the other hand, when individuals are providing to the network, whether it be solar, wind, or whatever they're providing back, this fee is presumably because they're using those same power lines, and it just seemed like it's like, you know, you're asking for money on both sides, and you're asking for land for free. You're not even going to give somebody money for that land. You're just going to take it for the same infrastructure you're telling the guy with the solar panels that he has to pay for because he's pushing extra electricity to the grid. It just seemed like it was like, what? Just seemed kind of backwards is all. And yeah, it's House Bill 539. I don't even know. It doesn't say if it's even out of committee, to be honest. So I don't know.
It's just interesting because, I mean, it just wasn't Texas that's lost power. Oklahoma, Louisiana, Georgia, a lot of the southern states lost power, had power outages here and there. Like even Missouri had them because of this clean new energy that they're doing. And now the left is saying, oh, it's because of the coal. And it's like, no, when coal was around, we never had to shut the power off anywhere to regenerate. So it's like never let a problem go to waste. So they're trying to say stuff about, energy. But it's just amazing to me that all these now energy bills are coming up and we started looking and reading on them.
I think you could do both without without shooting both feet. So I found the two bills interesting, to say the least. And I was kind of wondering, and like I said, I don't even know if it's out of committee yet.
Well, to piggyback off of what Michelle was saying, it's interesting that the Democrats think, oh, well, we have a problem with power outages because of the solar and because of the wind, of everything freezing up and snow being on everything. We'll just add more to it. We'll just add more solar. We'll just add more wind.
Right.
When we didn't have this problem at all with the Keystone Pipeline delivering oil, we had plenty of coal and gas energy coming in. But Democrats' reasoning is
throw more money at it.
Yeah, we have a problem. We create a problem. So we throw more money and do the same thing to the problem.
And create the problem worse.
Yeah, and you make the problem worse. Yeah.
I'm just still trying to figure out what did you mean by 4 years? Early in the podcast, you said something about 4 years prior.
This wasn't a problem 4 years ago.
During the previous
what does that
administration,
mean?
it was weird.
Yeah.
It was weird.
Interesting.
What's really interesting was, if you recall, Trump himself, when he was either candidate or right when he got elected.
Was that sarcasm, Jeff?
I think it was.
Yeah, it was.
I'm trying to figure it out. So.
Mentioned specifically that wind power was a bad idea.
Yeah. He did.
And I'll tell you, where we live and we've got the windmills, there's several of them that are stopped working because they're frozen.
Well, and another thing that's really funny about all this power outages stuff is, the the Biden administration, might as well have been Obama. They sent gas-powered generators to Texas.
Whoa.
And they only sent 80 of them, only 80,
Okay,
but they sent gas-powered generators.
The drones they sent, diesel drones, and they're spraying oil-based lubricants on de-icers
on the windmills.
Yeah, I mean, hello.
I can't.
Can we deal with the stupidity? That's why we're Republicans, I think. Honest to God. I can't deal with the blatant stupidity of the left.
Don't get me wrong. I think there's a place for wind power. I think there's a place for solar, but
you're absolutely correct.
But I don't think. Well, on
Where's
the roof of my
place?
house.
Yeah,
because that's
for individual use. It's fine.
It's only on the roof of my house because I'm no longer in an HOA.
I don't know. At our old homeowners association, there was people that had it, but you had to get approval by the homeowners association,
and had to not be visible from the front of the house.
There's one type of energy that everyone's overlooking that could be a source
reclamator.
What is it, Dakota? Come on, bring
nuclear.
it.
Nuclear.
Specifically.
Yeah, but Texas had to shut their nuclear power plants down because it got so cold because they didn't insulate them because they're not insulated for the cold weather.
Yeah, Texas.
They had to shut them down because they were worried that it would cause a major problem with it getting so cold down there.
Part of the problem with Texas is they aren't prepared at all for cold
No,
weather.
no, they really aren't.
They really aren't.
I really go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, that's all. Yeah, they're just not prepared at all.
No, they're not.
I thought for sure you were going to say hamsters.
Well, and it's funny.
I'm not prepared for hamsters.
I mean, it's really funny because these people down there are like, oh, and I'm just like, I mean, really?
You're never going
I have
to
an X-ray to show you later.
It's
Jeff.
not the negatives, but then you're seeing all these water main breaks. I'm like, oh.
Well, and you're never going to see, at least anytime soon, any sort of major power generating anything, whether it be nuclear or even coal, because it is so hard to get any sort of permit past the EPA or any of that stuff. You can't even begin to do it.
Part of the thing about nuclear is that it's a capital intensive
sure.
energy source, which means every major energy sources, but it pays for itself and it's completely safe environmentally speaking.
By and large, yeah.
Doesn't generate any kind of carbon.
If we do the French reclamation atomic or the generators that actually use, instead of the rods, they actually use the waste from other nuclear. Yeah,
Yep.
you know what I'm talking
Yep.
about?
Yep, and they have small modular reactors, which are cheap. So we could solve all our energy problems overnight if we converted to nuclear, but no one wants to do that.
Nope.
Well, no, because then it doesn't make them money.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I think Becky has something to say.
Producer Becky, you want to go back? What were you wanting to say about Texas also?
Come on, Producer Becky. Go ahead and tell her.
She refuses to turn a mic on or get in front of it. So Texas had some big problems also. They didn't have ice scrapers.
Nope.
They didn't have really any winter clothes or any preparation for this. Their insulation's not even set up for winter weather.
Yeah.
They were instructed to turn their water on.
Yeah, to keep the pipes from freezing. Yeah.
And they still froze, and some of the times it froze dripping out, froze in the sink.
Well, yeah, because they didn't have any power to keep the house.
Right.
It doesn't matter if you keep the water running.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people that their cars were parked underneath a water main in hotels and stuff like that, and when they went out to get their car is completely encased in water. And frozen.
No.
But they had credit cards to scrape off the windows.
Yeah, they could have used credit cards.
Yeah, and
they had a broom.
What's funny though is they were asking on social media, "Hey, Northerners,
how do we do this?
Yeah, how do I do
this?
What's this and how do we do it?"
That's funny. That's funny.
Well, it's no different. When I lived in Wisconsin, the company I worked for was purchased, and we had to move to Seattle, and the very first snowstorm that they had while we were there was like a good solid inch of snow. Everyone from the Wisconsin group showed up at work. None of them did. And they're like, "No, you guys don't understand. It's a snow day." We're like, "What?
What's a snow day?
Yeah, what's a snow day? Well, that's a day that if your salary, you'll just get paid hourly, get paid to half a day. You just stay home." And we're like, "No, really, this is a thing because it's an inch of snow."
That sounds kind of like something similar in the new bill coming out, isn't it?
Well, didn't Biden cancel something for less than an inch of snow in D.C. recently when it snowed? What was it he canceled?
Did he? I don't know.
I don't know. I couldn't tell. He was behind the
there
walls.
was something that was supposed to happen, and he didn't because of the snow. It was he canceled because of an inch of snow, less than an inch of snow in D.C. I was like,
that's hilarious.
I can't remember.
So anyway, no, I wanted to get everyone's take on the clean renewable energy, because I thought certainly this piece was kind of interesting, the way those two pieces of legislation came through. So we're going to take a break. We're going to switch topics. When I come back, we're going to talk about Missouri showing at the big CPAC, and talk about Holly and a couple other folks that are out there, and how they also gave kudos to our Missouri boy, Limbaugh. So we'll come back to that in just a minute. And we're back. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about CPAC, discussion honoring of both conservative leader Rush Limbaugh, who passed away from lung cancer.
Go back. You can't almost forget his name.
No, I didn't almost forget his name. I was trying to think of a title, a really cool title. They had some much better ones than I
Just say
did.
conservative
Just-
icon.
yeah.
Conservative icon,
Icon.
Rush Limbaugh.
And remember the golden mics.
Yeah, the golden mics. We even have golden mics too, and that's
I know,
pretty awesome.
so.
We are EIB styling.
EIB styling. So anyway, I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about Rush Limbaugh and then segue that into where he's being honored right now, which is at CPAC. And then I also wanted to bring up a little bit of Senator Hawley's speech at CPAC. I don't know if you've had a chance to hear any of it, but it was amazing. And I specifically want to do
really
the
was.
first part of it where he talks about liberty. So I don't know about you guys, but Rush Limbaugh has been around through the majority of my adult life, and even before my adultness. In fact, when I first was introduced to him, I don't know about you guys, but I was introduced to him when he had the TV show. I don't know if you guys, and there's some clips of his old TV show.
Was that when he hosted the sports show, or was it another TV show?
It was after the sports show.
Okay,
He did the sports
okay.
show to get started, and then he did a different one. Yeah, you're right, with the buttons. Yeah. Yep. So is everyone, I assume everyone here is familiar with Rush Limbaugh?
Not familiar.
Not familiar at all?
Yes, we
Not
are.
All right.
Very much.
What was, what will you remember or take away from his broadcast? I guess would be the best one.
Well, I'll just interject here that not just from his broadcast, but I remember when I left Missouri to go to California. And I got out there, and honestly, I don't remember if he was there before me or if he came in after me. But leaving Missouri and going to a different state and not having a lot of friends and family around, that was like having a little piece of home.
Right.
You know, and so it was awesome having him out there, and he's always making fun of a particular city out there. I just lost it, Rio Vista.
Rio Vista.
And right, I hate to say this, but rightfully so. But yeah, he's just a lot of fun. And when he left, it was kind of a bummer because he left me.
Yeah.
But it was fun to still listen to him on the radio. He's really a big part of what kind of molded me to how I think today.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really appreciate all he's done for our conservative community and bringing
he
more,
created it, right?
and bringing lots more people to the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he did the same for me, though. I mean, especially during their Obama years, I started listening to him, and he was the first one that had mentioned Trump running for president. And I looked at Shaun, and I was like, wouldn't that be awesome? And Shaun's like, oh, he's a Democrat.
Yeah, I'm like he's a Democrat.
But I was like, no, I
Yeah.
said, but he's a businessman and having business. But Rush is the first one that I heard it possible, because back then you didn't have all the voices you have now. You didn't have David Harris. You didn't have Dan DiBiagio. You didn't have, all the people you have now that are really, you can get all this information from. So he was the one that I really listened to. I mean, Herman Cain had a little bit, but he wasn't as what he is now, what he was before he died either. So I'm just saying he was one of those voices that really shaped a lot of the things. And he told you exactly what Obama was going to do, and he said it, and I was like, and I couldn't believe all these people were still voting for this man because they weren't listening to what he was actually saying. They were basing him on his color. And Rush saw right through that. So he made me very strong in my beliefs as a Republican and as a Christian, as a conservative. He stood up for all those rights for us. He woke up a lot of people. He definitely woke up a lot of people.
All right. Dakota?
Yeah. So I am probably the younger end of this group.
Ouch.
No offense.
Some of us are turning 50 today.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Be nice.
But I mean,
Dad.
You and I are fighting, Jeff.
Yes, my eldest is almost as old.
Yeah, I was going to say, we actually do have one.
On that age.
Yeah.
I came to the conservative talk radio scene a little later.
Yeah.
The thing that struck me about Rush was, I don't know, the shock value, like the unapologetic attitude that he had, which I loved.
But not mean-spirited.
Not mean-spirited,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just not apologetic.
No.
And you believe what you believe, and in a time when conservatives love to apologize, he didn't feel the need to, and that's another thing. That's what I loved about Trump, and that's what I loved about Rush.
Well, I think that's been a recipe for success for the last couple of years for anybody that's even remotely successful on the right. And
Exactly.
that is not only the ability to, be truthful, be factual, but also in the face of, making somebody literally making someone look stupid, you say, well,
You have facts and reason and common sense on your side. Why should you?
right,
know,
and
I
that's
mean-
but that's been the hallmark of
China
like
Mitch.
is I and that's the problem with some of the Republicans is that they're perfectly okay with being the voice of the resistance, but not
Right.
Really.
When you have power, it's like all of a sudden you become inert and forget that you have power and need to act on your values now.
Right.
And Trump was so effective for 4 years because he actually had acted when he had power, and that's something that conservatives, rarely seem to do.
Yeah, especially today when we're fighting against the tech oligarchs, who are literally, pushing the way people are, getting their information and learning. All right, Kress, your Rush Limbaugh moment.
So Jeff and I were kind of talking about this a week or two ago, that there was a gentleman by the name of Paul Harvey
Oh yeah,
that was a huge voice
Good day.
before Rush Limbaugh.
right.
He would tell the straight news without any bend to it.
Right. He was the Walter Cronkite of the radio.
He
is the way I
was
always thought of him.
absolutely. So it was. I remember riding in my grandparents' car. Paul Harvey would be on the radio, and then later on, when Paul Harvey was off the radio, they ended up accidentally stumbling across Rush Limbaugh, and that was their first introduction to conservatism. They didn't know it yet, and they didn't completely understand what Rush was talking about. But I still remember that moment that they enjoyed listening to Rush Limbaugh, even though they didn't really understand what was going on. My grandfather was a Blue Dog Democrat. He was a Union guy, but most of the time they voted Republican anyway.
Right.
So, but
Well, and you found that with kind of Trump appealed to the Blue Dogs. right?
Absolutely. One of the best things I think Rush Limbaugh did, he always attacked feminism, rightfully. Back when they were fighting for women's suffrage and they all were joining the Republican Party, this is the far left feminists. He would call them feminazis, and that's where we got that term from that we all use today. And then he was the one that introduced the country to what actually abortion is, which is, I think, as horrible as abortion is, but this is fantastic that he would actually get the gall to come on national radio and talk about abortion. He would always end one of his calls that were going horribly in the sound of a vacuum cleaner, and he would call it the caller abortion, and then you would hear the vacuum cleaner go off.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, Rush was the king of conservative talk radio, the start of conservative talk radio. As much as the left wants to give him a hard time and show him in a bad light, honestly, it's because he was Republican. He was the only outspoken Republican that was around at the time.
Well, and he created an industry where the left had basically moved their flags away from.
Absolutely.
Right. Nobody had control over AM radio. They didn't
Yep.
care. We don't care. You can do whatever you want there. Okay, we're doing it.
Number
And then
one
it's like-
talk show in the nation.
And it's like, oh crap.
Which paved the way
They conceded.
for-
They conceded the space, and he took it.
Right.
And that's where he flourished. He created an entire market out of nothing.
And paved the way for Sean Hannity's, Mark Levin, On and on and on.
Well, now you've got entire networks.
Absolutely.
You know,
that the Democrats are trying to ban.
like the Blaze,
Yeah.
Blaze Network.
Well,
CRTV.
what you were talking about, Michelle, Democrats are trying to attack.
And erase. They're trying to erase everything conservative.
Yeah.
They're trying to get OAN off the network, RBN,
Fox News.
Fox News, you name it.
Newsmax.
Newsmax.
Yep,
They're trying to get
because they don't agree.
Right.
Well, we're becoming a fascist state, and it's so sad that so many people on the left don't see it. You're seeing some of people are really waking up, especially when
You're starting to see the union.
people.
The poor union people are the first ones to wake up because they're like, wait
Especially
a minute.
those that were on the
The
pipeline. and stuff.
worker,
Right.
not the main manager.
The
Yeah.
blue collar people like myself and the union worker like myself that wakes up doesn't do a 9 to 5. They might do a 5 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. shift. The people that shower before and after work. Those are the ones Trump got.
Yeah.
That's what this new Republican Party is. And I don't think we should back away from this at all.
No.
No. And then you have people like Mrs. Blonde Cheney that, had to make that snide comment about Trump right behind McCarthy. Is it McCarthy? Yeah, behind McCarthy. And about, Trump doesn't need to be part of the Republican Party. And it was like, yeah, he does.
So you think we're going to still continue on the path of Trump being the head of this Republican Party?
Because even...
I'm waiting for his speech at CPAC.
When Mitch McConnell comes out and says if he becomes the nominee, he will back him.
Again?
Yeah. Mitch.
After
Mitch
he
actually,
wanted to turn
he
his
came
back
out.
on him before?
Yeah, he said he would back him.
You know what?
But
I
and
think
then
we should get rid
Senator
of Mitch.
Lee,
Ditch Mitch.
I know Ditch Mitch needs to be gone. But who was it? Lindsey Graham says he is definitely the future. That we have to keep on the same track of Trump in order for the Republican Party to still exist.
This Lindsay 2.0, I can't
It's
believe
awesome.
he is
He
doing
is-
fantastic. He's not
he's-
being squishy anymore.
He is not a squishy. He hasn't flip-flopped on anything. He has stayed the course since he's been talking to Trump. So
which is remarkable because
he's always was wishy-washy.
I really thought when we got Lindsey Graham 2.0 that it was only going to be for a short term.
I thought he would be a Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, I thought he the moment he would. I honestly thought the moment he got the chance to flip, he would. Right, it would be
I would think he would be doing it right now.
Right,
During
exactly.
now that they've
now
got,
that he's not in power, but at least that hasn't. Yeah, at least
he's
it hasn't
staying
happened.
consistent.
Definitely agreeable with that statement.
All right.
And then another senator, person that sort of kind of been was a little let down was Senator Cruz. He was been so wishy-washy. But then I guess CPAC, he was really doing a great job, and he did a fantastic speech also, like Holly.
What do you mean? What do you mean he's been wishy-washy?
He just hasn't been on fire that he was. I mean, he was really good at first. He stood up and he was going to, challenge the election results. Then he changed, and he made a comment on how it was unconstitutional to challenge the election results or something. He made a comment about it.
I think what happened there is that he drank the water while he was in Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, there was some wishy-washy. Not a lot about Cruz. He wasn't a whole bunch to me, but a lot of my friends were like, he's being a little wishy-washy, a little not the normal Cruz. Something happened. I think they got mad because he was challenging election results and then he switched it after the riots, and I think that made a lot of people mad. He should have stuck to his guns about it. And I think that's where people are saying he was wishy-washy.
I gotcha. Yeah.
And I wish he would have been more like Holly, because he's always been like Holly, where he's always stuck to his guns. But this is the one time he didn't stick to his guns.
I'll tell you that.
I found it interesting. He's kind of letting Holly do that.
Well, and another thing that's sort of come across, if you listen to his speech, he really made fun of this whole Cancun thing because it was a private vacation. It was something he had already planned out with his family, but then it had just happened to happen during this time.
So, Michelle, you bring that up. Let's play a portion of this for you guys.
The country clubs, the Republican Party is the party of steel workers
You guys hear that?
and construction workers and pipeline workers and taxi cab drivers and cops and firefighters and waiters and waitresses and the men and women with calluses on their hands who are working for this country. That is our party, and these deplorables are here to stay. These are dark days, and the media tells us this is the new galactic empire forever and 1,000 years. But already Joe Biden and the radicals in his administration, they are already overshooting. They are already going too far. Their policies don't work. They are disasters. They are bad. They are destroying jobs. They are stripping our freedom. And there is a natural pendulum to politics. And the country will come back to sanity. And mark my words, 2022 is going to be a fantastic election year. And so is 2024 as we stand together and defend liberty, defend the Constitution, defend the Bill of Rights of every American. In the immortal words of William Wallace, freedom!
Wow. That was incredible. Good for you, Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
That was almost to the point where I felt a little bit worried about him having a cardiac event there on the stage because
Right.
he was getting fiery. He doesn't know. I mean, even on the floor, he doesn't get that kind of fired up. I was a little worried.
think that this ruining his trip to Cancun with his family pissed him off. It was a private event. Someone from the airlines released the photos. It's under investigation. It should never have been gotten out that he took a vacation during this time.
I just don't understand what they expected him to do.
Well,
had he not
it's like,
gone.
look what some of the Republicans doing. Why, Joe Biden's over here hiding.
Yeah.
And then Joe Biden shows up today to Texas a week and a half, almost 2 weeks later, and goes to a part of Texas that wasn't even affected.
Well,
he goes up at
because it was
Houston.
friendly.
Because he doesn't know. Yeah, and it's the Democrat
Yeah,
portion of Texas.
but his people should have known it was Dallas and not Houston that was affected.
Yeah, but he's not going to go to Dallas. He's not going to go to Dallas. That never works out well for a Democrat.
But it's a very Democrat area. Dallas itself proper is Democrat.
Did you want to play the portion from
Josh Hawley.
Josh Hawley?
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Okay, let's go ahead and get that rolling.
You want to do that? Okay, hold on.
Because he had a great speech.
I'm just going to do the part. I'm going to specifically hit a great part right around. It was about 3 minutes in, where he's talking about liberty, and that's the part I wanted to bring up. So here's that right now.
We're facing in America right now, and we've got a basic choice. We can have a republic where the people rule, or we can have an oligarchy where big tech and the liberals rule, and that is the choice, that is the challenge that we face today. It's a perilous moment. We have to stand up and take our stand on the Constitution of the United States and the Declaration of Independence, because last time I checked, the Declaration of Independence said that our inalienable rights to life and liberty come from God and not from government. Is that right? I mean, am I forgetting something? And I also thought, last I checked, I thought that the Declaration said that our rights come from God, not from Google. Is that right? I mean, last I checked. But that's the fight of our time, to make the rule of the people an actual thing again, to restore the sovereignty of the American people. You know what? That's always been the fight. That's the fight of liberty. That's been the fight of liberty since the beginning of human history. You've always got a small group of people who think they know best, and they ought to be in charge, and they ought to be able to tell us what to think and do. And today, that's the big corporations and the liberal elites. That's the oligarchy. And what are we fighting for? It's the same thing our founding fathers fought for. We're fighting for the rule of the people.
So yeah, that's what I mean. His speech was really good, but he specifically mentions the big tech oligarchs, and that we've got to start fighting, like Jeff has here at the state level, and get serious about this, because we have to do something, or this cancel culture is going to get ridiculous.
Well, yeah.
So Jeff.
He did a good. I haven't heard all of his speech, Dan DeBaggio.
Do you have, Jeff? Do you have any additional information on your bill?
It's interesting. We did have a bill that allows Missouri residents to go after the big tech, and it's getting mixed reviews, obviously, because we have the libertarians. We now have, unbelievably, the Democrats who want to hop on board and say, "Hey, they're private companies." And that private companies should be able to do whatever they want to.
Suddenly,
they
private
become
companies,
free market people.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is just awesome. But
remind them of that later.
Well, the big problem is that they are supposed to be a platform, and they say, come and join our company, come and use our company to get your messages out, use it to have free speech and to go from get your information from one person to the other. And you have a section of a law that was passed back in the 90s called the
Communications Decency Act.
That's right. And Section 230, which is part of that act, allows for that free speech to go through these platforms without them having any risk of getting sued.
Right.
If you say something to me, Shaun, in that platform that I don't like, I can sue you.
Yeah.
But I can't sue the company. I can't sue the Facebook or whoever it might be.
You could sue me, but I paid sales tax and licensed a truck today, so there's nothing there.
So
I'm tapped, dude. There's nothing. I can give you this pen. That's about it. That's all I got.
That's all I need is a pen. So the bottom line is that that's for the protection of the company that is providing that service. The problem is that when that media company starts telling us what you can say and what you can't say, that puts them into another realm. And the problem is that right now is when somebody tries to sue them, they're using that Section 230 to say, hey, wait a second, I'm just a platform. Yeah, that's at my House Bill 482, which basically says we don't want to do away with Section 230. I think that's a great part of the law. And as long as the company is fulfilling their part in allowing that free
exchange,
flow,
free exchange of information,
right, then that should be there. But the problem is that when they don't, when they censor you, when they shadow block you, when you get put in Facebook jail, whatever the case may be, this bill just says, you as a Missouri resident now have a voice and you can sue the company for up to $75,000. $75,000 being the key here because that's the cutoff of allowing you to either go to the state or going to the feds.
Okay.
All right. So you have a choice, whatever's going to be best serve your needs. But it just gives you a voice to say, hey, you can't censor me based upon my political views or my religious views, which is the primary issues that we're working with.
Do you think, Jeff, that part of that has to do with the fact that the left has controlled the language, meaning that we don't refer to it as hateful speech or mean speech, it's hate speech.
Yeah.
And that we've magically made this a crime somehow, even though it's not.
Yeah.
And they then flip that in like Facebook and whatnot, and they go, well, we don't want to be, in trouble with the hate speech. And it's like, well, why does that matter?
Yeah, well, there's very specific language in Section 230 that tells them what they're allowed to censor and what they're not allowed to censor. Right. And so they are still allowed to censor pornography, to censor actionable verbiage. And in the sense, as an example, you can't go into a movie theater, which is used constantly as an example,
right?
And shout fire, right?
But that's a call to action.
That's a call to action, and that's something that they can censor.
Right.
And so we're not taking away those kinds of issues. We're just saying, hey, Shaun, have you heard President Trump's new speech?
Right.
Right. And whether they like that or not, they shouldn't be censoring it.
No. And that's my concern is that they can still. I'm concerned that they're still going to be able to find a way to get around this. But I'm like you. I agree that you can't get rid of 230 because getting rid of 230 makes it a whole lot worse.
Well, there's other institutions out there that fall into that category that need that protection.
Right.
But here's the thing. I will tell you that all of a sudden, next week I have meetings with Facebook.
Because
and I don't know if you know this, but I was just written up in the Washington Examiner this past week, and so wow, I have a crowd. I have followers.
You love me. You really love me.
the Washington Examiner did a really nice article on this particular bill, as well as 2 other bills that are being presented in the House down at the Capitol here in Missouri.
Right.
And this is going on across all 50 states. And now that this is happening, I think that we may be getting their attention, right? I don't know for sure, but they're coming to talk to us here in Missouri. So we'll see what they have to say next week.
We need them to realize that there are states between the 2 coasts.
Well,
That's always helpful.
Well, another thing is it's just not the United States this is doing it. Now other countries are starting to fine them millions and millions of dollars for censoring. And
Right.
if they censor someone, even the president of the United States, they're censoring. They're going to fine
Well,
them
and if they can-
because they don't have the law we have.
Right.
No,
Yep.
and Josh Hawley says that in that speech that we played a portion of. He actually says, if they can kick the president of the United States off a platform, what do you think they're going to do to you? I mean, seriously.
I will say that the verbiage in this bill is actually being introduced in all 50 states.
Nice.
And not all by Republicans. There are many Democrats that are introducing this bill, just like I'm introducing it, because it's not a partisan issue. This is eventually this could turn around on the left, just like they've done to the right.
Well, especially if you're not one of the chosen
Right.
of the left,
That's
right?
right.
If you're one of those poor Democrats that isn't a
Woke
leftist,
enough?
woke enough,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about.
Tishy Gabbard.
Gabbard,
Tulsi Gabbard.
Fine example.
And in fact, I believe it's her dad. Her dad is a Democrat in Hawaii, in their state legislature, and he is one of those people who are introducing this bill to their state legislature.
Yeah,
That's
well, because
awesome.
she's a blue dog.
Yeah.
She's a blue dog. She's not completely nuts leftist. So
Imagine that.
I know. Actually, she was. I was like, if I was a Democrat, she would be the one I would go to. So
I would just say that this might be splitting hairs, but in the Communications Decency Act, a lot of what Section 230 is protecting are internet service providers. So when you're defined as a platform, you're literally defined as it would be as if we're talking about the hardware of the phone rather than the operating system. So
Right.
that's an analogy. But what I'm saying is an internet service provider would be like AT&T, Sprint,
Right.
Whereas a publisher is honestly Facebook and Twitter act like publishers. Even if they're not censoring your speech.
What I would like to see one day, and we're not quite there yet, but we're getting close. One day, I would like to see my data, my information that's being monetized with barely my consent. I would like my cut.
Well,
yeah, but it is true because our names, the American government has taken loans out of every human being that's a loan. I mean, we are all financially. I mean, they have money out on us as human beings.
So that is an idea that's been floated out there, monetizing your personal.
I mean, it's
data.
Happening anyway,
yeah,
right?
That's an idea that's been floated out there. Amy Peikoff comes to mind.
Okay.
She's look her up. She's worked on just such an idea. But yeah, I mean, the point is, Jeff's bill creates a way for companies to be liable for behavior that violates their own terms of service, which is purposely ambiguous and arbitrary. That's how they get away with censoring you. They make their terms of service purposely ambiguous and arbitrary, and you don't read it anyway. So what this does is, by creating this legal liability,
We'll have to do a podcast here in the not too distant future where we start talking about some of these weird monetization. Tech, and then because I saw an interesting video that shows some of those apps that you've got on your phone that asked to have access to your camera, because if the app's on, it's looking around your house and getting an idea of what you've got,
Wow.
Yeah, it's
same thing with the microphone. I mean,
yeah,
every app that uses your location or microphone, that's why you get ads. You're having a conversation, and you all of a sudden get an ad.
I know
for the
it's
thing
so
you're
weird
talking
because I've been thinking about starting the screen printing thing, just doing a little screen printing here and there.
No kidding.
Just for fun.
for shirts.
For shirts.
We mentioned it.
Just
And
mention
then sure
it.
enough-
And now I'm getting flipping ads all over the place.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's
I was
amazing.
just thinking about it
Yeah.
because,
It's amazing.
I'm an
Reading their
artist.
mind.
Yeah, it's literally,
No,
yeah.
it's not
And now
reading
I'm
your mind, it's
getting
listening to our
conversations, and I'm like, well, I knew it was doing because there was something a long time ago.
Now they'll never
before they came out and said anything about it, and we're like, oh, this is weird.
Well,
Yeah.
they'll
So-
never admit to turning your phone's microphone on without you knowing.
Doing it.
But
No, but they'll
They
ask you for
do.
permission.
But what they do admit to is if you go into a store, it does turn your microphone on because the store has our radio whatever set
Radio
up
frequencies, yeah.
so that it can tell your phone can tell which part of the store you're at, so that it can send you customized ads on your phone based on your shopping habits. So
Yeah.
that is a thing they have admitted to.
very Minority Report.
Oh yeah.
esque.
I was just thinking about it.
Well, it's just like now you have all these because I'm an insurance agent, and you have all these apps that they like Know Your Drive, or your Farmers has the app. I can't remember the name of all of them, and State Farm has an app about your drive.
Most
but
of
they
them
want
do.
you, but they want you to have that app on all the time.
Oh, yeah.
because they want to know what you're doing even in your home. And I'm like, dude, you don't need to know my own private business.
Because that data, they're not just collecting data that's
Right.
relevant to their business.
They're
They're
collecting-
collecting all of it because they can sell it.
And that's
well,
what
they
that's
could
what I'm
just
talking
not
about.
sell it. I mean, it's also an insurance thing. Once they know what you're doing in your home, then they can raise your risk in your personal home and how much you smoke or how much you do this by your risk factors and your insurance.
And a lot of times you can't even download the app unless you accept all these terms.
Yeah.
which-
Oh, there's no way it would work. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting you're bringing that up, and then I think about the gun bill that they're trying to put through,
Oh yeah.
and the fact that
Mm-hmm.
if Shaun owns a gun
Yeah.
and you don't own a gun, but yet they still want to do a background check on you,
Because you're in the home.
Michelle,
'Cause I'm in the home.
because you're in the home, and
That's just
it's just incredible what all of this stuff leads to. It's scary.
That's the issue, right? These tech companies are collecting all this data on you, data that you think they know things about you didn't even know about yourself. What happens when the government requests that information?
Yep.
They've got
well, and you already
And
saw that.
everybody
during the-
has
during-
one of these smartphones.
Yeah, the FBI
so
has already
they
requested everyone's smartphone
phone information that was done at the Trump
January
rally.
6th. Yeah.
Exactly. And they set up stingrays in Washington
Yep,
D.C.
yep, the sting-
Yep.
yep.
So now if the state, it's like with the back door they set up with the NSA called the PRISM program, program where they forced all the tech companies to set a back door up for the NSA,
Yep,
so they
yep.
could siphon off all that data. I mean, we didn't know about that until Edward Snowden leaked it.
Yeah, and we wouldn't have.
And he's still a fugitive for doing that.
Yeah.
So if the government were to all of a sudden require every company that's collected data on you to turn that data over to the government for the government to use against you in some way, you might not even know about it
No,
until
you
you're
wouldn't.
already
Knee-deep.
in a certain type of re-education camp.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really sad. All right, we're gonna have to do. We're definitely gonna have to do a future podcast on the weirdest, wackiest conspiracy stuff. I won't call them theories because, like you said, Snowden came out with the stuff saying they're doing it right there. So I think we'll call it conspiracy.
Well,
stuff.
you can call Babylon B as conspiracy theory because all this stuff that Babylon B posts is becoming reality.
Isn't that crazy, too?
Yeah, the fact that they're a satire company, but yet they're right now. All right, guys, it's been fun, but it's getting a little long in the tooth.
Wait a second. One
what?
more thing.
Oh.
Just want to remind everybody, next Wednesday, today is what? What's today? The 26th.
26th.
It's,
How
it's
could I
Okay,
forget
today
that?
is the
Well, we
26th,
refer
but
to
this
that-
will be posted by the 29th on Sunday.
So okay,
What's
so.
today?
So-
Today is Friday.
Friday.
28th.
The 20. Oh.
No,
There
today's
is
Friday
no
the
20
26th.
Sunday's the 28th.
27th, 28th.
Okay, so this will be
28th.
posted by the 28th. So
Awesome.
you guys
So-
are going to be hearing this on Sunday, and we're doing this on Friday.
By the time
it
you
takes me
hear
a minute
this,
to do this podcast, guys.
You need to hurry up.
Oh my gosh! Hire somebody faster.
I was gonna say, double his salary.
Yeah, double my salary, please.
So, what salary?
0 to double zero.
Yeah, 2
Thank
times
you.
0 is still.
So just remember that Wednesday of this next week.
That would be March 3rd.
That would.
Oh wow.
Oh
March.
my gosh.
Yeah, March 1st is Monday.
Holy cow. So March the 3rd, 12 noon at the Capitol. I would love to have everybody come down to testify on behalf of our property tax bill,
Oh yeah.
which limits the amount of values that your local assessors can raise your
To the
residential values.
CPI, you said?
Yeah, well,
Yep.
what we're going to do, what that bill does, it takes the current way that we estimate what your values are worth, which is by market value, does completely away with that. And now, whatever your market value or whatever your value of your home is currently, which I'd love to go back in time, but they won't let me by law. But whatever the current value it is when this bill passes, which I hope will be in November of this year, before they reassess your home,
Coming up, yeah.
that will be your base value, and the only way it goes up from that point on is by CPI or the Consumer Price Index. A very low amount. If you look at the last 40 years, the average per year is right about 1.9%. So if you get an assessment for this next year,
He's not turned blue yet.
if you actually look at the past 40-year average, your assessment value would only go up by 3.8%.
Wow.
Versus last time it went up here in Jackson County, as much as 10% on the low end to 1,400%.
Yeah, that's the one I remember.
We
It's
probably
14. Yeah.
Every time I say it, everybody remembers that number.
Well, yeah, because you're scared to death. I mean,
Yeah.
you catch yourself lucky it wasn't you, right?
Can you imagine 1,400%?
No,
But at
I
any
can't.
rate, we have a hearing. It's in Ways and Means Committee, and I would love to have people down there to support me on this bill, because I can promise you that the school districts will be down there in opposition.
Yep.
And we're not
No.
taking money away from the schools.
Nope.
Please hear me say that. I am not taking money away from the schools. They'll get the same thing that they had before, plus they'll have the increase of the CPI. So,
Guaranteed.
yes.
Right.
And so just help me out on this, and let's get this put in place for you.
So I want to say real quick before we wrap it up, Shaun, everybody please pay attention to Jeff's Facebook page. We're going to be doing a video will be released pretty soon. He had a important vote that he did Thursday before he left the Capitol about the schools and education savings accounts. We're going to be putting some more information out on that and try to squash all the disinformation out there, which I think is very important, because these people are starting to focus on the school system and not the actual students itself, and we want to try to look at that and clarify that information. That's all I needed
and
to
we
say.
certainly
Thanks.
want to point out anytime the school districts start worrying about money that their unfunded liabilities are not the concern of, that should be a concern, but it shouldn't be a focus as to why they continually need more money, more and more money.
I mean, once we start seeing that, we got to wrap up and shut this down. But go ahead and please, guys, go to Citizens for Jeff Coleman on Facebook. Look us up online, citizensforjeffcoleman.com. Feel free to email us, citizensforjeffcoleman@gmail.com. Shaun, what are we doing next?
I think we're pretty much done. So on behalf of myself, Michelle, Jeff, Dakota, and Kress, have a good one. Say goodbye.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Shaun.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
5-0.
5-0. Big 5-0.
Bye, y'all.
Brought to you by the Jackson County Republican Party. Contribute at jacomo.gop. That's JACOMO.gop. And promotional considerations given by Heartland Funding Incorporated. helping promote traditional values and candidates. Contribute at fundingtheheartland.com.